Hey, good morning, VOCM. Time is 7:29, and we were talking about hashtags and social media for this election. We've got an interesting conversation Patty had with Rhonda McMeekin coming up. But the hashtag NLPOLI, NLPOLI, is one of the places that you can check out if you're wondering all things political for this election. That interview is coming right up. There is no disputing the impact of taking advantage of all social media outlets during a political campaign. The federal election this past May is a solid indicator of the future of politics and policies. Does that trend translate to our provincial election and to the electorate? Patty speaks with social media darling Rhonda McMeekin.
I don't think we can answer that question right now, how big a role it's going to play. I think that's going to have to be one of those things that we look back on and say, did it have an impact? And realistically, that's going to depend on how the public decides to engage in it. Politicians, candidates can only be as effective as we let them be. It's a platform for discussion, for kind of drawing back the curtain and seeing that personal side of candidates, because there's very little filter between the two. So it's really going to depend on how people decide to kind of take it and go with it.
What kind of advice can we give candidates so far as what they tweet? It's not how many doors you're knocking on in the next community, but to try and relay some of what you personally think. How would you advise a candidate on social media if you had a chance?
Well, I think to really, I guess I hate to use the term, but to quote-unquote win at social media, it's got to be kept personal. It's really an opportunity for candidates to authentically engage with their supporters and, more importantly, their potential supporters. It's really, I guess, an avenue for them to authentically engage, to earn their support, to really let them see what they're all about. And the example that I always go back to is you look at Minister Kennedy, Jerome Kennedy, and what he's doing on Twitter. I mean, you see him in the media. He's a very serious, on-point, very with the message kind of person. But you look at his Twitter feed, and he's really letting people see that personal side of him. He's, talking about literature and his competitive nature in Tiddly and Harbor Grace. And it's really that different side of them, and I think people have really warmed up to that. And I think that's a really good example of what people should be doing out there, is letting people have that personal connection. Because if you have that personal connection with a candidate, ultimately you're more likely to give your support to them.
And do the numbers agree with this statement? Social media followers during the campaign are for sure voters. These people will make it to the ballot box on October 11th.
I don't think you can color everybody with the same brush on that one. I think there's some people that aren't going to vote no matter what you do, but I think there's definitely the potential to influence people who might not necessarily always vote to get out and do that, because that conversation is happening in their own personal space. This is their social network, and if they see that other people find this important and are talking about issues that are important to them, I think it gives them that motivation to get out to the ballot box and have their voice heard.
How nervous are the campaign managers, and what parameters do they give the candidates so far as trying to rein them in, make sure that they don't tweet themselves out of a victory?
Well, I think it's scary for a lot of people, especially if this isn't, in their nature. In different avenues in my life, I talk about the digital native versus the digital immigrant, and I think a lot of the campaign teams that you see are built around the digital immigrant kind of side of things. But I think it's important to realize that for my generation, the younger generation, not everyone listens to the traditional call-in shows on stations like VOCM. That's not the soapbox that we've chosen to have our issues heard and discussed. Our soapbox is social media, and ignoring that is at the peril of the candidates, because this is where we're going with our issues. And if you're ignoring that, you're ignoring things that are important to us.
Well, let's just hope that those with their Twitter account open on the screen open another window at VOCM.com to listen to us live on our talk shows. Thanks for this, Rhonda.
Not a problem.
It's Patty Daly with Rhonda McMeekin. She's a social media darling. And,
interesting
talking about,
topic.
People and social media and the role it plays in this election. You tell you what I've noticed about a lot of these tweets. You get very distinctive personalities. You get people who want to discuss the issues, and then you get the people who just want to bash. Everything is negative, and they use it as their platform just to bash. They don't offer anything else other than negative or what they think are funny comments.
And what makes it worse is that they hide behind their fake Twitter name.
They hide
so
behind
they're hiding
a name.
behind anonymity,
Or
really.
They put up a sign or they put up another image that's not them.
So if you're brave enough to make those comments, you should use your real name.
I think so. But they won't. And you can follow one of the Twitter feeds you can follow is hashtag NLPOLI, NLPOLI.
Not as in the parrot.
No.
POLI.
POLI if you want to check that out.